Now to the latest in the war-torn city of Aleppo in Syria. Government forces have now taken control of the majority of the city where rebel forces once reigned. Meanwhile, civilians remain with little medical care, food, and horrible conditions. The United Nations is warning that dozens of unaccompanied children are trapped in a building under fire in eastern Aleppo and is calling for their immediate evacuation from the rebel enclave. Representatives from France and Britain are calling for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss the atrocities, and that is what they are in Aleppo. Joining me now on the phone is CBS News foreign correspondent Debora Patta. Debora, tell us what you've been seeing, what's left of the buildings, the homes, the streets in Aleppo, and specifically those civilians which, from what we understand, are being targeted house by government forces.
Well, the city of Aleppo is basically a wasteland of devastation, burnt-out shells of buildings. There may be victory there, but it's a very hollow, empty one. It's come at a terrible cost. And the biggest price is being paid by civilians who have suffered brutally, not only over the past 4 years, but in the past few weeks it's got even worse for them. And as this battle for Aleppo really is in its final death throes, the civilians are facing even more unimaginable horrors. And as you correctly point out, shocking reports of people being killed execution style, of soldiers bursting and pro-government forces bursting into their homes, shooting them on sight, shooting them in the streets, of them being unable to go into the streets and collect their loved ones who've been shot for fear of being shot again. For those who managed to escape, fleeing on foot, they don't really know where they're going. All they want to do is just get out of there. It's a pretty horrific scene in Aleppo, and certainly something, it's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my time as a journalist.
Debora, Human Rights Watch says that Aleppo is being transformed into a mass grave. You are in Syria. You've been reporting from there. Are the people there, what is their hope? Are they hoping that there will be some kind of a ceasefire? Are they hoping that the West will pay more attention? What is it that they want?
Glad, I think right now people are so weary of war. They just want it to end. It's almost as if people don't care how it ends. They just want it to stop. They have suffered under a siege. They haven't had food. There's been no medical care. We met a family whose child had to wait 15 days to get proper medical care because they simply couldn't get out of the city. They were trapped. They were hiding. They were being bombed. And it was just too dangerous to flee. And it was only when they got out, because there's no proper medical care in the east, that their son was able to get medical care. So I think the hope right now is just that it ends, that the bombing stops. It seems that in the next few days, Aleppo will fall completely, and now there is talk of this deal, that a deal has been made to allow whatever levels are left in the city for them to go to another area, and for civilians to have some kind of safe passage out.
You know, we've been showing, Debora, pictures on the screen here for our viewers of people fleeing, trying to flee. Mostly, it looks like women and children and older men. This is the face of this horrible tragedy that is going on for 4 years now. And of course, Debora, you know that little girl, or you know of that little girl, Bana Alabed. She is the little girl who has been tweeting with her mother. Her last tweet was from 9 hours ago. My name is Bana. I'm 7 years old. I am talking to the world now live from East Aleppo. This is my last moment to either live or die. Have you heard, Debora, if there is at all the possibility of a ceasefire deal with Russian forces assisting the Syrian government?
Well, there certainly is the report that this has happened, that some kind of ceasefire deal has been reached, and that overnight any remaining rebels will be evacuated or be allowed to get out of the east of Aleppo. But there have been many ceasefire deals, and whether that will hold, of course, remains to be seen.
And Debora, final question. While the Syrian government has obviously worked to retake Aleppo, there are reports that the city of Palmyra was retaken by ISIS. What does this setback mean?
Well, I'm glad you raised that, Vlad, because, of course, that is the crucial question here. It's one thing to reclaim territory. It's quite another to hold it. And that is really the difficult part. Palmyra being a very good case in point. 9 months ago, the Syrian government and Russia, to great fanfare, had a concert in the ancient ruins and proclaimed that Palmyra would never again be back under the control of ISIS. That lasted 9 months. And while they were busy bombing Aleppo, literally ISIS snatched it from under their noses. So although there is, victory doesn't even seem the right word, does it, in Aleppo? Although Aleppo seems to now have fallen free from rebel hands, the war rages on elsewhere in the country. This war is far from over.
Yeah, it's just horrific. And we've been talking about the human consequences and the human tragedy happening there in Aleppo. And now with ISIS retaking Palmyra, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the great cities of the world, dating back to the 1st century, practically destroyed now by the Islamist forces of ISIS. Debora Patta doing some incredible reporting. Debora, thank you so much. We appreciate it.